Good morning, everyone. I'm Adolfo Jimenez, Chairman of the Miami International Arbitration Society. Thank you for joining us today. We're very, very fortunate to have with us somebody who lives, breathes the world of international arbitration. MIAS is here to connect our members to the world of international arbitration and make this global phenomenon something that's very, very unique and local to Miami. I first met our special guest, Jackie van Haersolte-van Hof, back in 2014 during ICA, and it was a really interesting time, and she was tremendous as far as just wanting to meet people and learn about our local community, and she's done so much to propel us all the way from ICA, which was obviously a very momentous time for our organization. She's joined this morning by Jose Astigarraga, who you all know, and I don't need to introduce. He leads Reed Smith's Global International Arbitration Group. And so without further ado, I want to turn it over to Jose so he can start our program. Jose?
Adolfo, thank you so much. And hello, everyone. Well, I think we have a special treat today, as Adolfo has said, in having the opportunity to have this conversation with Jackie van Haersolte. Just to tell you a little bit of Jackie's background, as Adolfo mentioned, she's been the Director General of the LCIA since 2014. But before that, Jackie had experience in many different roles in international arbitration, both as arbitrator as well as counsel. She practiced with Freshfields for a number of years in Amsterdam. She worked with De Brauw at The Hague, with other firms as well. And then ultimately set up her boutique, which was one of the GAR 100 boutiques in her own name, and continued to practice. In 2014, she was lured to become the Director General of the LCIA. And we're going to hear about her tenure. And since that time, she's continued to sit as arbitrator. Interestingly, Jackie is on the ICSID roster of arbitrators and is a member and has even presided several ICSID annulment committees. She's for the resolution of Holocaust survivor claims for dormant accounts in Swiss banks, and she teaches at Leiden University. So this is someone who really is just a very, very significant figure in the world of international arbitration that has brought a wealth of experience to the LCIA and as well to us this morning. Jackie, welcome. We're, of course, delighted to have you. We thought that this, of course, would be a terrific opportunity for our members to hear about the LCIA and many, many interesting aspects of that institution and its practice. But as well, we thought that we did not want to lose the opportunity to talk to you more broadly about issues in international arbitration. You head one of the world's premier international arbitration institutions. You have a global perspective of what you do and the world of international arbitration. So we very much want to get your thoughts on those issues. So in effect, this program I propose we divide it into two parts. Let's talk about the LCIA, its rules, and LCIA specific issues. And then for the second part of the program, let's talk perhaps more broadly about some of those arbitration issues. So if that's okay with you, Jackie, let me just to begin by asking you, of course, we all know of the LCIA, but can you give us a quick overview of your view of the LCIA and what makes it unique?
Thank you very much, Jose. Well, it's a delight, even if it's a virtual presence in Miami, to be in Miami. And I have extremely good memories of 2014 when I met Adolfo for the first time. We talked about maritime arbitration. I remember that Jose, I had just arrived in my hotel in Brickell, and the first person on the phone 5 minutes later was Jose talking about LCIA matters. And I thought, oh my God, I don't even started my tenure then. And you were so charming. I was completely
Oh.
overwhelmed. And it then dawned on me that this whole job I'd taken on might be a bit bigger than I had perhaps expected until then, but it was still a pleasure. Yeah, the LCA now and the LCA then. The LCA is very old, and at the same time has really changed in the last 10 years or so. It is one of the largest international arbitration centers. It's based in London, and it has in its name London and International. And I think that's with a reason. I think we're proud of that, and we're not going to change that, because that is what it is. It is not a domestic institution. It has truly global outreach, but it's firmly embedded in one of the, according to the Queen Mary White and Case survey, service, the arbitration center in the world. Well, I would say at least one of the. Of course, Miami is coming up closer. And it is particularly strong in certain sectors. It is particularly strong in certain industries. And it offers a particular type of administration, which I'd like to refer to as mean and lean. We assist arbitrators and tribunals where that's necessary, but we are not unnecessarily involved in cases where the tribunal is able to handle matters itself. We do not scrutinize awards, but we are there very much to provide procedural support if and when that is needed. I think the fact that parties often choose English law and an English seat also helps to support the process because of the framework of English law and the framework of the English judiciary. That's not a requirement at all, but it is one of the reasons why historically I think the LCA has become so strong. Have we lost Jose altogether, or just his image, Adolfo? What do you think? And you're on
Yeah,
mute.
no,
So.
we may have lost him. Hopefully he'll be able to join, but what I'll do is I'll try and reach him. So just continue.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Well, so the LCA is particularly strong in three sectors: in shipping and finance, in commodities, and in energy-related disputes. And to some extent, that overlaps with sectors in which English law is predominant. But the reality is that it is only in a minority of cases that parties hail from the UK. And I think that tells you something about what the LCIA looks like. So even though it is London-based, it's not an English institution. What has happened in the last 10 years? I think we have made enormous changes to the rules, to the way in which arbitrations are handled and administered. It was originally a small, almost cottage industry type of outfit, and now it is a huge business with a very sophisticated software system, a large legal and non-legal staff. So we've really seen huge changes in the last 10 years or so. And I think at the end of this conversation, we may come back to what further changes are in the pipeline. Perhaps I can talk a little bit about the regions in which the LCIA is particularly strong. Interestingly, Europe is an increasingly important basis for the LCIA. And that is not to say that that's exclusively so, but it is an important market for the LCIA. In addition, Africa is a particularly important region for the LCIA, and traditionally Russia. Now, arguably that is part of Europe. Almost a third of the cases of the LCA have a connection with Russia or BVI or Cyprus. Then we have other cases, US, obviously, but perhaps also interesting for Miami-based practitioners is Mexico is very much an area where we see an increasingly significant number of users. A lot of these cases are well publicized, and we started seeing cases that are effectively domestic Mexican disputes, but very significant Mexican disputes coming to the LCA some 2 years ago. Mexican seated, Mexican law, Spanish language, LCIA. So that's a trend that we've seen in the last few years. I hope, Jose, you're back. We certainly
am.
see you. So I've talked
Can you
us
hear me?
through, yes, I've talked us through a little bit the sectors where the LCIA is strong and the regions. So over to you.
You bet. You bet. I apologize. You know, the best laid plans. Jackie, what, if I had to ask you, I think I know the answer. I apologize if you've already covered it, but what do you think distinguishes the LCIA? And I'll ask you the question in this way. And if you've answered it, I apologize. I will go on to the next question. But sometimes I call it the elevator speech. You know, you imagine, sometimes imagine I'm in an elevator with an arbitrator and I'm in ground floor and I've got to convince the arbitrator by the time I get to the top floor of the justice of my client's cause. Okay, what's the reduced message? In other words, in your view, what is the elevator speech as to why, you know, the LCIA and what distinguishes it?
I think there's two things, and one I touched on just now. One is the way in which the LCIA administers, with a light touch when needed, but with a tighter touch when required. And the second is the remuneration system. The fact that the LCIA operates on an hourly rate basis, interestingly, leads to a cost-efficient service, and that's something we